Welcome to today's lesson. Today we are looking at poems and how to relate these poems to our personal lives using their central messages. By the end of this lesson, you should be able to read and recite the poem with correct rhythm and expression. You should be able to identify the main idea and the central message of the poem. You should be able to explain unfamiliar words in context. Also, you should be able to identify literary devices such as rhymes, imagery, personification, and any other literary device that you may come across. You should also be able to answer comprehension questions correctly. You should be able to relate the poem to your own lives, as well as express appreciation for nature through discussion and writing. Now, what is a poem? Any idea? A poem is a piece of writing that uses carefully chosen words to express ideas, feelings, thoughts, or experiences. They often have rhythm and they rhyme, as well as imagery or mental pictures that make them interesting and enjoyable to read or recite. A poem is basically a special form of writing that uses beautiful and creative language to express thoughts, feelings, ideas, or to tell a story. The person who writes a poem is called a poet. Now let's look at the features of a poem. A poem usually has a title. That is the name of the poem. It also has what we call lines. That is each row of the words that is written in the poem. It also has stanzas, and a stanza refers to the group of lines just like we have in paragraphs. It also has rhythm, which is the beat or flow when you are reading the poem. It also has rhyme, that is to say the words that have similar ending sounds, though this may not apply to all poems. It also has imagery, which refers to those words that helps readers to create mental pictures in their minds. Now, why do people write poems? Have you really thought of why people write poems? People write poems to express their feelings and emotions. Also, they write poems to describe people, places, animals, or various aspects of nature. People also write poems to tell stories or share experiences. And poems also teach important lessons or values, which also motivates people to write them. Some people just write poems to entertain and inspire others, while others also write poems to celebrate special events or people. Let's do a quick memory check, whether you can remember all that we have done so far. So from what you've done so far, can you remember what a poem is? We said a poem is a special form of writing that expresses thoughts, feelings, or ideas using creative language. What do we call the groups of lines that are found in a poem? These lines are called stanzas. So every group of lines in a particular poem put together is called a stanza. What is the name given to each row in a poem? Of course, each row in a poem is referred to as a line. Can you name the 6 features of a poem? We said a poem always has a title. Poems also have lines. They have stanzas. They usually have rhythm. They rhyme as well sometimes. And most often than not, they have imagery. Remember, a poem does not always have to rhyme, but it always uses words in a creative way to communicate ideas, feelings, or experiences. Now, what do you see? Any guesses? What do you see? So, what is displayed here is a mango tree. What about this? These are coconut trees. What about this? Any guesses? These are baobab trees. I hope you got them correct. What about this? This is a neem tree. What about this? This is a forest made up of so many other trees. Now you may be wondering why we are showing trees all of a sudden. Do you have any idea why we may be showing trees, taking into consideration the topic we are doing? Any guesses? Well, the reason why trees are being shown is that our poem is related to trees. This poem is entitled Trees and is adapted from the poem written by Joyce Kilmer. Shall we read it together? I think no sight can ever be more beautiful than a growing tree. Its strong roots drink the morning rain, giving it life again and again. Its mighty trunk stands firm and tall, brave through sunshine, wind, and squall. Its leafy branches reaches the sky, where beautiful birds build nests and fly. It gives us shade on scorchy days and cools the air in many ways. It gives us fruit, fresh air to breathe, and shelters creatures underneath. Each season paints the tree anew, bright green in spring, gold in view. People may write thoughtful poems every day, but only God can make a tree. Now let's look at some of the vocabulary that can be found in this poem. Sight. Sight refers to something that can be seen. Mighty, very strong and powerful. Squall, a strong wind or storm. Scorching, extremely hot. Shelters, a safe place or a place that gives protection. Beneath, under something. Anew simply means again or in a new way. Thoughtful, showing careful thinking. In the poem, we came across this word spring, and it refers to the season of the year where plants begin to grow and flowers bloom and trees produce fresh green leaves after a long period of rest. So spring is used to show that during this season, the tree becomes fresh, green, and full of new life. It is a time where nature looks beautiful because new leaves and flowers appear. Mind you, Ghana does not experience the 4 seasons, one of which has been described above, which is spring, summer, autumn, and winter. Like many countries in Europe and North America. Instead, Ghana has 2 main seasons, which is the rainy season and the dry season. Note that in this poem, spring refers to the season and not the coil of metal or source of water or to jump suddenly. But that is not what we are referring to in this poem. What we are referring to is the season called spring and not any of these. Now let's look at another phrase that we came across in the poem, which is gold in view. It basically refers to the yellow color of a tree's leaves, especially during autumn, when many trees change color before their leaves fall. Here, gold does not mean precious metal, as in the gold we all know that we mine from the ground. Rather, it refers to the color of the leaves. Now, the next thing we are going to look at is to try and understand what we call literary devices. What are literary devices? Any idea? Well, literary devices are special techniques or tools that writers and poets use to make their writing more interesting, meaningful, and enjoyable to read. They help readers understand the writer's ideas, create pictures in their minds, and express feelings more effectively. For example, we have rhyme, imagery, personification, alliteration, repetition, simile, and metaphor. These are all examples of literary devices. Now, these literary devices make poems more beautiful, interesting, and meaningful, and they help readers enjoy the poem and understand the poet's message. Note, a poem is not a literary device. Rather, a poem is a piece of writing that expresses ideas, feelings, or experiences using creative language. That's very important. You need to take note of that. Now let's look at the explanation for the various literary devices found in the poem we just read. The first one is rhyme, and this refers to words with similar ending sounds. For example, tree, bee. The ending of tree is similar to the sound of bee. Another example, rain. Again, the ending of rain sounds similar to the ending of again. Sky, fly. Similarly, you can see that the ending of sky sounds similar to fly. Another word is days, ways. So the ending of days sounds similar to the ending of ways. So this is what we mean by rhyme, and this is a literary device which is used in poems just to make them beautiful and interesting to read. Another one is imagery. These are words that create pictures in the reader's mind. For example, bright green in spring, gold in view, its mighty trunk stands firm and tall. So once these phrases are read, it creates certain mental pictures in the reader's mind. So if you say bright green in spring, the reader may be imagining green trees in the season spring. So this is also another literary device that is used to enhance or embellish the poem. Another one is personification, which means giving human qualities to a non-living thing, plants or animals. For example, its strong roots drink the morning rain. We know that trees do not have mouths to drink. However, in this poem, we are giving the trees some human attributes to make it look like it is behaving like a human being. So this is done just to give some interesting flavor to the poem and make it interesting and enjoyable to read. The next one is alliteration, simply meaning repetition of the same beginning sound. For example, strong roots, bright green, thoughtful poems. Then you have repetition, simply meaning repeating words or phrases just for emphasis. For example, again and again. So these are some of the literary devices that you find in the poem that we just read. Now, what does the poem teach us? The central message of this poem is that trees provide food. They also give us shade. They produce oxygen for us. They protect animals and make the environment beautiful. Some of the values that we can learn from this poem is that we should learn to appreciate nature. We should also cultivate the habit of planting trees, protect the forest, care for the environment, and also thank God for His creation. Now let's look at some comprehension questions. What is the title of the poem? The title of the poem is Trees. Who wrote the original poem? Joyce Kilmer. How many lines are in the poem? We have 16 lines in the poem. What is the poet comparing the tree to? The poet says that a tree is one of the most beautiful things. What do roots drink? According to the poem, roots drink the morning rain. What do birds build? Birds build nests. What does the tree give people? So the tree gives us shade, fresh air, fruit, and shelter. What colors are mentioned in the poem? Bright green and gold. Why does the poet admire trees? The poet admires trees because they are beautiful and useful. How do trees help living things? They provide food, oxygen, shade, and homes for animals. Why does the poet say only God can make a tree? The poet says only God can make a tree because only God can create living things. How can you help protect trees? We can begin by planting trees, by watering them, and avoid cutting them down. So imagine there were no trees in Ghana. What would happen? There will be less oxygen, more heat, fewer animals, and more pollution. Why should schools plant more trees? Schools should do that because trees provide shade, they beautify the school, and they improve the environment. Do you think every child should plant at least one tree? If so, or if not, explain. Yes, this is because planting trees help protect the environment for future generations. What trees grow around your home or school? You need to find out that when you go home or when you go to school. Which tree is your favorite? And explain why. So you need to go and research about your favorite tree and explain why it is your favorite. Now, write 6 lines describing your favorite tree. Fill in the gap challenge. Carefully study the table below and fill in the gap. And below are some anagrams. Rearrange these words to give the correct word. Now, these are a few true or false questions about the poem. Read them and indicate whether each of them is true or false. See you next time. Bye bye.